I'd like to answer the question with regards to the MAT's jurisdiction. Under the Arbitration Act, they have the power to make legally binding decisions, and the law says those decisions will not be upheld in the court, in the English courts, if they do not comply with the principles of English law. But the problem is that these MAT's decisions, they are actually legally binding in real life, because unless they're challenged in the English courts, they are out there binding and the parties are bound by it. And not only that, but also the MATs themselves have said that their decisions are used as evidence, for example, in inheritance disputes in the courts. And not only in the UK, but also outside the UK, in other Islamic countries. And this goes back to the problem of how easy is it for people to challenge their decisions. It's not very easy, because the process of challenging their decisions is very unfamiliar and perhaps daunting to victims of those decisions. And they might not have enough support and money and education and perhaps language difficulties. So these women, they don't challenge their decisions. They either escape and go in hiding and seek refuge, like the earlier case I mentioned, or they just yield into it and they just feel that they need to follow those rules. The problem is that it's not voluntary, because they also intimidated in their communities. If they refer to English courts to solve their disputes, they are being told that the non-Muslim people, the racist people, are deciding their family disputes. That's why they feel the pressure to go to MATs. And we have set up an information campaign, and as part of the campaign, we have a advice helpline. This is mainly targeted at women, perhaps children, who are not aware of their rights or who fear seeking advice because of pressure or death threats, basically, from their families or even the husband. And I believe that the Sharia councils should be abolished, because what they do is not actually what we believe they do. They do mediation, but mediation in an English context is different to what they think mediation is. Mediation is looking at the issue that's causing the dispute and try to solve it between the parties impartially. But what these councils do, as in this case that I mentioned earlier, they told Parisa that Quran says the man owns the woman. She should listen to her husband. She should go back to her husband and listen to him. They quoted Quran for her. They made her fear of going to hell and other things, other sanctions that there are in Islam. So that's not really mediation. That's just taking advantage of a vulnerable woman who doesn't know about her rights in any case.
I'm an atheist. I'm hostile to religion, both at a rational and moral level. But I think it's important to recognise that the problem we face cannot simply be dissolved down to a question of religion. Take the question of multiculturalism. It's not largely religious people who pushed the idea of multiculturalism. It was secularists who promoted it under the guise of promoting the idea of cultural identity and the right of different groups to their own particular cultural identity. So it's important, I think, while we recognise the problem with religion, we also should recognise that this is not simply a religious problem. Religious fundamentalists have taken advantage of a series of political policies which have often been promoted by secularists. And it is that broader problem of plural law, of multiculturalism, and so on, that we need to challenge. Not simply the specific advantage that religious leaders have taken off those policies in order to promote their particular agendas. I think while we need to tackle this question of religion. We also need to recognise that there's a broader problem we need to tackle, which is that of the idea that because, as was raised at the beginning, because we live in a plural world, so we need plural laws. We don't. It's precisely because we live in a plural world. From a secular point of view, we need one law for everyone.
If you want to learn what political Islam and Islamis are, I will recommend that you in UK get a cartoon crisis. Then you can see how they behave in reality.
It's called the Rushdie effect.
But you know, when Rushdie wrote his book, he didn't got the same reaction as we got to the cartoons. Not if he did it today, you will get a bigger reaction. I saw that in Bradford they burn books and so on, but in Denmark and the rest of the world, you know, the cartoon crisis was not only a Danish crisis, it was an international crisis. 100 people died around the world. And when the crisis started, a survey told us that 50% of the Danish people were against the cartoons and 50% for the cartoons. But when they saw the reaction and the violence, almost 80% of the Danish people supported the cartoons. And your position on the freedom of speech in Denmark, the position can decide who win the election. So one of the most important issues in Denmark is the freedom of speech. And we in Denmark, the official position is that the freedom of speech is unlimited when it's about religion, ideology, systems, and debt profits. There's no limit.
Good old debt.
What about, sorry,
but when it comes,
but
when it's not illegal in Denmark to deny it. It is in Germany, but not in Denmark. In Denmark, we have the Nazi Party is legal. So the freedom of speech is unlimited when it comes to ideology, political systems, religion, debt profits. But when it's come to human being, we have limit. You know, we have a discrimination law saying that if 5 years ago there was a Danish doctor, he said that the Muslims get children like the animals, like the rats. Then he was sued and he went to jail. So when it comes to human being, there is a limit. But ideology and profits, no limit. So,